X-Pac 12360.
A new day is dawning for DX.
And now, your hosts, Sean X-Pac Waltman.
Welcome to X-Pac 12360, everyone. This is a special audio-only edition of the Christmas holiday since AfterBuzz Studio is closed.
And we didn't want to leave you with no show.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I guess the first thing I'd like to do is talk about a tweet that I saw from Dave Meltzer.
I think I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, I think you do too. And it's just, it's a timely tweet because, last year, none of the guys in WWE got a chance to spend Christmas with their families.
And there was a pretty big uproar last year too. People were upset that they weren't given the opportunity. But now this year, they pre-taped Raw and SmackDown to give them that opportunity because it landed on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And Dave Meltzer tweeted out back on the 19th, for anyone complaining that WWE taped ahead this week so the talent could spend Christmas mornings with their families this week, please leave and don't mind coming back until you change your mind. 100% agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some people took exception to that. And it just blows me away.
I don't understand it either.
See, here's the thing. When I was younger, we worked on Christmas. We worked on Thanksgiving. Sometimes, in WWE, we would do Survivor Series on Thanksgiving. And I mean, we were gone for a lot of holidays, and it hurts. The guys sacrifice enough. The guys, the ladies and gentlemen that go out there and bust their ass every night, they sacrifice enough all year. They are definitely entitled to spend Christmas with their family, especially with those with children.
Yeah.
As a father myself of two grown children, so many, you can't get those Christmases back, Mark.
Yeah.
And I look back and I regret not being there sometimes. I mean, I guess I don't regret some of the decisions I made. Well, I guess I maybe I do. Also, I wouldn't be bringing him up, right? Yeah. Our families are the ones that pay a huge price for us following our dreams, and so I think of the families. Even if you're one of these people, like you mentioned, you saw in there.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of they don't. It's when people don't share your point of view on something, it's like, whatever. But for this particular thing, some people are going a little bit farther out of their way to be negative about, so they should be giving us live shows and this and that, where for me, coming from a production standpoint, similarly to what we're doing right now, we're making sure that the folks have a show to listen to so it doesn't break the schedule, it maintains all of our stuff, but also we give them something to crowd around the television to watch.
Mark, somebody you said tweeted something about, we pay their salaries.
Yeah,
was it really like that basic?
I quoted it verbatim. Somebody said, we pay their salaries.
That's an original fucking
thought.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Never heard that one before.
No.
And, okay. Notwithstanding that's bullshit.
Oh, 100%.
Even if you think that you directly, I don't want to get into that.
No, I agree. Yeah.
Cause we couldn't, without the people's support and them coming out, buying merch, buying tickets, and even these days, just your time, spent viewing the product is worth money to us. So even just your time, grateful for that. But that doesn't mean that you're getting your checkbook out and writing, $3,000 check to, Bank of America for so-and-so's mortgage, or paying their light bill, or, things like that. And Marcus, there's also there's a fair trade that goes on when they pay for something and you give them a product, whether it's entertainment or like a a tangible object. So I don't want to get off into that. All I'm saying is, even if you think that, like, think of think of the kids, their children, and their wives, and all these people that sacrifice. The
parents, one of my favorite things WWE did this year was they've done a lot more to show the human story of a lot of superstars, where you got to meet parents, family, trainers, this and that, and now there's a face to put to that of. Everybody deserves to spend Christmas with their families or the holidays with their families, whatever they celebrate.
So, they deserve to spend time with their families. They deserve to wake up in their own bed on Christmas morning and go, see their children open up Christmas presents or whatever. If Hanukkah, whatever the hell's going on, they deserve to be there and wake up in their own bed. And there's not a better bed to wake up in besides one with a purple mattress on it, right?
I agree with that.
Yeah. And how did you sleep last night, Mark?
Not as well as I could have with a purple, I bet.
Did you spend the night tossing and turning?
Yeah.
Sleep is important, folks. The quality of your sleep affects the quality of your daily life. If you're struggling to get a good night's sleep, you've got to try Purple Mattress. Purple mattresses will feel different than anything you've ever experienced because it uses a brand new material developed by an actual rocket scientist. It's not like the memory foam you're used to. The Purple mattress feels very unique because it's both firm and soft at the same time, Marcus.
I believe it.
It is.
I need a certain amount of firmness with my mattress, so it's...
With the softness.
Yes, along with the softness.
Yeah. I mean, it's unlike, like the previous memory foam mattresses, not going to name brand names, but.
Of course not.
You either have to buy the hard, like the firm or the soft. You don't get them both in one like you do with the Purple mattress. And the Purple mattress ends up giving you a zero gravity-like feel, so it works for any sleeping position, Marcus. And going with Purple gets you 100-night risk-free trial. If you're not fully satisfied, you can return your mattress for a full refund. It's backed by a 10-year warranty, gets free shipping, free returns, free in-home setup, and removal of your old mattress. So it doesn't just sit out in the garage or up against this, up against the shed or out in the street. Right now, listeners will get a free Purple pillow with the purchase of a mattress. That's on top of all the great gifts they're already offering site-wide. Just text X-Pac to 474747. The only way to get this free pillow is to text X-Pac to 474747. That's X-Pac, X-P-A-C, to 474747. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks again to our friends at Purple Mattresses.
Thanks, Purple. And thanks to all of our fans over this past year that have helped us grow. We've expanded to our YouTube channel, so thank everybody who's watching us here on that, as well as our podcast feed.
All right. About that YouTube channel, we need to get some more content on that.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to have, this show and, break the little clips up and, put the past interviews up. But we need to have all the good YouTube channels have other
more
content
than one show.
Shit. Yeah. So I don't understand that.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we're developing right now, and we're trying to get schedules and tech and also some clearances because anybody who follows you on Twitter knows you've been watching a lot of great classic wrestling content. So we're just trying to figure out a way to marry all of that together and release it appropriately. Yeah. So thank you to everybody who's been following us there. And we want to do something special for this week's show. So we thought special meaning
we were trying to come up with something and we're not in the studio and we don't have a guest and we can't take calls. So special mean, I guess we're going to go with a Q&A.
So we threw it to you, the X-Pac12360 listeners, using the hashtag X-Pac12360. We've got some questions here from the fine folks, from you, the viewers, the listeners, and we're going to start let's start some conversations here, Sean. This one, I wanted to put this one in because it's sort of it's a good end of the year question. What was this is from the Atom Bomb 90, and their question was, what is your favorite match that you've seen in 2018? Whether that was a match from 2018 or not, what's your favorite match that you've seen in 2018?
Well, and I guess maybe because it's fresh on my mind, Gargano and Aleister Black.
That was really good.
Yeah. And, I'm not going to argue with anyone that liked any number of matches, but more than that one, because here's the truth, Mark. These days, in the year 2018 going into 2019, there are so many goddamn good matches out there. Mm-hmm. And, there's so many guys for people to like, and so many ladies out there for people to like. And okay, in the WWE, that was my favorite. I can also tell you Marty Scurll and Okada from All In. Yeah, amazing match.
Yeah, if there was one, I like that one a lot from All In. The only one that I think would kind of compare would be Omega and Pentagon Dark from that show. It provided a completely different type of message, but a lot of the matches on All In, I think, were pretty indicative of how wrestling has changed across the world and giving us different examples of match types. But when it comes to WWE, I really liked Aleister and Gargano, but Almas and Gargano from New Orleans was just, or no, I'm sorry, Aleister Black and Almas from New Orleans was absolutely phenomenal too. Yeah, Aleister Black was one of the best competitors all year, even though he missed 3 months of it. Yeah.
And as good as he was coming in the door, he's gotten so much better.
Agreed.
In the time that he's been there. Mm-hmm. And also, a sincere congratulations on his marriage to Zelina Vega.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that question. Moving on, we got from Buy Full Sale. What match has made the biggest impact on your life? So that doesn't necessarily mean a match of yours, but was there a match that just really affected you and your something? What was the one that made you want to be a pro wrestler?
I tweeted no. Mm-hmm. Well, I was just going to say, what's his name? The person that asked.
This is from Buy Full Sale.
Are we assuming that? Am I assuming that it's a man?
We had a couple of women submit, but I'll look it up.
Buy Full Sale.
Buy Full Sale.
Like Buy Full Sale
University. Oh, wow. This is from Beatrice Ingram. So Beatrice.
Wow, Beatrice. Yeah, I actually found that match. The first time I ever went to a wrestling match, I talked about this, I don't know how many times, but it was Dusty Rhodes versus Ric Flair, NWA title, and that was the main event of the first match I ever attended live, and it was that whole show, but especially that, and the pageantry and everything with the entrances, and Dusty, and, and Rick, and the atmosphere, the arena, sold out, 8,000 people.
That's big.
Yeah, well, especially, in St. Petersburg, Florida. Mm-hmm. In the South, the arenas were a little smaller than, say, up in Boston or Madison Square Garden. But, yeah, so that's the match that I credit for making me fall in love with wrestling and making me want to do this. So that might be the most impactful. And as far as matches in my career, obviously my win over, Razor as the kid. So yeah, obviously.
Thank you very much, Beatrice. This one I thought would be a little fun. If you don't want to go too far into it, I totally understand. BN Paul Sen 18. That's a big name. Back in the day, would you rather have Vince pissed off at you or the Undertaker?
I would rather have Vince pissed off at me.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I got to be in their locker room with Undertaker every day on the road, and not so much with Vince. You see Vince once a week, has a chance to, like, he's got so many other things going on. It's unless you're right there in his face, he's going to forget about it.
Yeah.
And plus Vince, most of the time, if you were doing well for him business wise, like, it wasn't enough to get you in trouble, creatively. Yeah. So yeah. And there's only one time I would have possibly gotten Taker mad at me. And it was back when I very first started in WWE. And, I talk about this on the show here and there. And how I really went out of my way to try to fit in. And, was like the class clown and just trying to impress. And I remember somebody talked me into, like, right in the middle of a talent meeting. Like putting Undertaker's hat and stuff on and his gloves and walking in like Undertaker. It was so stupid.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like, it was just like, I forget who talked me into doing it too. But it was just about the dumbest thing I've ever been talked into doing.
Wow.
And Taker just was like, because you don't mess with anyone's shit, let alone Taker's.
You don't want to take anything out of anyone's bag, like let alone.
No, it wasn't out of his bag. It was just like
it.
Sitting there, like, no one in his bag, but it was really stupid. For a nice little story.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. Let's go to Johnny NBA, who asks, favorite version of DX, the first run with you in late 1998 or the heel version in 2000?
Johnny, thanks for the question. I guess I'm going to have to go with, the early version with us as baby faces.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we started off as heels and then ended up baby faces by default. Is that maybe the right way of putting it?
I think so.
Yeah. So, yeah. Then I had that great run with Kane, last week's guest, and that whole thing. Like, it drew out pretty long. We talked about that. But then luckily we still had, that DX run as heels. And I loved it.
What was your favorite thing about it?
I just loved it because we were up in the top, in the top storyline. We were with Vince. We were in really good stuff, and we were really good at being baby faces, and we were really good at being heels too. Yeah. We knew how to shine the baby faces, and we loved doing it. And around that time was in just like, I think that year I was in just about every main event in Madison Square Garden because of being involved in that, storyline.
Thank you, Johnny, for that question. Let's move on to Shadow Prince 66. Have you ever heard or been pitched a storyline that made you question the pitcher's sanity? So more so, what's the craziest thing you've ever been pitched, whether it's been used or not?
Not so much storyline, like overall storyline stuff, as much as like just, hey, this is what we want you to do tonight.
This is another thing in the question thread. But in terms of what was it? The Crybaby match that you did with Razor?
Yeah, no, that's something that, like, okay, that's an angle, like, and there was a payoff, and that was the payoff.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. We'll get into that in a little bit. But no, I mean, like, things like the writers coming up with this stupid fucking idea for Kane and I to get involved in this pudding match. And me come out with a scuba suit on and flippers and
goggles and stuff.
Yeah, like a dumbass. Like, I was like, I couldn't wait to get up in the middle of all the girls in the fucking mud. It was so goddamn stupid. And then Kane comes out and picks me up and throws me in the mud thing. And it was in my hometown too, by the way.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, in Tampa, when I was living in Tampa.
Oh,
and
man.
So, and Kane didn't like it either. And, at that point, I kind of still trusted them with everything. And, like, because, things have been going good. but I knew this was a bad idea. And they were like, oh, no, trust us. It's going to be great. And it was so fucking awful. When we think about the premise of it now anyways, it's so stupid. Like the pudding match and the girls in bikinis and the misogyny and I just kind of got up to speed on how bad that shit was.
It
in hindsight, it was all fun back then or whatever, but I got
no place anymore.
Yeah. So, but getting back to it, I come out there and Glenn comes out and it's going nowhere fast. And my memory is he grabs me and picks me up and we both fall in the goddamn mud. And it was just awful. And as soon as we walked back through the curtain, when it was done, the writers, they fucking went, pew, they split. And it was a good thing because I think I would have fucking broke one of their necks. I was that goddamn mad. I mean, not literally, but I was ready to chew somebody's fucking head off. And it's one thing having me go out there like that, but it's another thing altogether having Kane involved in that ridiculousness.
Since we brought it up, let me move on to Big Top 34's question, which was, whose idea was the Crybaby match, and what were your thoughts on the angle?
I hated it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't good for me. I did it well, and it worked, but it wasn't good for me at all.
So this was back when you were with $1 Million Man against Razor.
And I was in the doghouse. Yeah. No matter what anyone says, and they tried to tell me this wasn't the case back then, but it absolutely 100% was. I was in the doghouse because it was known that I asked, when my contract was up, and it was around that time. See, people don't when they look back on it, that was Scott's last pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Yes. And he was on the way out the door. I still lost. The goddamn diaper match. So does that tell you something?
Yeah, that's pretty indicative.
Yeah, and I'm guessing, I might be wrong about this, but I'm guessing it might have been Jim Cornette's idea because Jim did something like that, in Mid-South.
Like he did it previously?
Back in Mid-South or in Memphis somewhere. Or he was involved in something like that. And I remember that night before when it was Jim Cornette that came up and told me I remember running it by me and what was going to happen and trying to convince me how good it was. And in his defense, it was entertaining and it worked, but for me personally in my career, it fucking blew.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's no two ways about it.
It was no weasel suit match with Bobby Heenan, but I can see where somebody can
I'm not Bobby Heenan. Yeah. I was a wrestler.
Yeah.
That had to try to go, in my mind, I was trying to go be a fucking serious wrestler.
And you had to come back the next night and be a bad guy and be somebody that people should fear, quote unquote fear, but somebody that should be taken seriously. And then here you are covered in baby
and doing Crybaby, and then later on, from that point on, I would do this thing where I would cry, and
how long did that last?
It didn't last long because I didn't fucking last much longer.
Let's move on to Kaibutsu, who asks, were you given any advice as a wrestler that became more profound as you gained experience?
I don't know. I read the question, and there's just so many things. I can't even begin to pull. There were so many things that were, most of the good advice I got early on, I didn't get. And that's pretty common. You just don't have the life experience and all of that stuff to actually comprehend it fully. And eventually you do, and then you have a light bulb pop in your head, and it's just the things the basic stuff, if you think you're going too slow down, because guys get in there and they tend to rush, and it just, they get to going at such a pace like that, they're in a race to the finish line, especially when the crowd's not making any noise. But I'm going to tell you some advice that I got, or some things that we used to we used to get a lot of wisdom dropped on us from Chief Jay Strongbow.
Really?
Yeah, I love Chief. My friends and I, we love Chief, and he loved us. But he was a curmudgeon. He was in the earlier days, like when I was still acting a fool. Like he would pull me aside and he would tell me, "Trailer," he called me Trailer because I was always the last person to come in the building. He would tell me, "When you're at home," he goes, "you're trying to impress all these guys. When you're at home and you're hurt, none of these guys are going to call you. None of them care how you're doing." I understand that was his experience and maybe thought that's just how it was. And maybe it was for a lot of people, but that's not my experience. I have a lot of amazing friends, and just about every time I was out injured, I had a lot of amazing people reaching out to me. And I'm not just talking about my,
like
my
friends?
Direct friends.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about guys in the locker room, but not the clique.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you somebody who really cared. Bob Backlund, Mr. Bob Backlund. Yes.
He's just a class act, that one. I love Mr. Backlund.
Yeah, Bob. And here's another thing about Bob. Every year on my birthday, until he no longer had my current phone number, he'd call me on my birthday. Yeah.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
and
great.
I'm not nearly the only one he would do that for. Trust me.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
Yes. So Bob's a very special human being.
Well, thank you, Kaibutsu, for that question. Let's move on. Real Cable Guy 1 asks, did you ever give Mr. Perfect his receipt for shaving your eyebrow?
It was eyebrows.
Well, it was both of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't know it was Curt until Billy Gunn was on the show like a year and a year and a half ago?
That's
you remember?
When you first find out?
You don't remember
No,
Billy? Me asking Billy, and he finally admitted it was Curt. I only, suspected it might be, and then I found out, and so there's no real way for me to get a receipt on something I didn't know. But I did. I ribbed Curt. Curt didn't go without getting ribbed by me. Mm-hmm. I remember one time, I think we were healing a room together in San Francisco. It doesn't matter where the fuck we were healing a room together. Healing a room means sharing a room. Yeah. He was in the bathroom in the shower, and I just couldn't help it. I got the fucking ice bucket and dumped it on his head over the fucking shower curtain.
It's the simple stuff sometimes that works the best.
And I remember one time we used to all go to this it's kind of a famous place in Newark called it's a strip club, like a go-go bar, like bikini bar. It wasn't a strip club where
strip club,
and then next to it was a diner, Skyline Diner, and we all used to eat there. Like that was all kind of our home base. We'd always go to Lookers. Mm-hmm. Lookers was the name of the place. And so Curt and I and, other people, Scott Raven was there. And Raven saw the whole thing because he was laughing his fucking ass off. And he couldn't believe Curt fell for it. This guy comes in, and he's he's short, and, he doesn't look like Joe Pesci, but he sounds just like fucking Joe Pesci. And so he's talking, I start calling him Joe Pesci, and, and I told Curt, this is Joe Pesci. And when Curt heard that's Joe Pesci, Curt started, it was this guy and Curt became best buddies. And he's inviting Joe Pesci to WrestleMania and giving fucking Joe Pesci his phone number. It was the greatest goddamn. Oh, it was so funny.
But it didn't look anything like
no.
him. What the hell?
And then so when he found out,
The Bobby Cash asks, have you ever been offered a short run doing matches for WWE to help young talent? And if not, would you do it? I wanted to flip the question and say, who in today's market would you be willing, would be the top of your list to work with?
I just know no one's asked me that because the way it is right now with the wellness policy and, the physical and all that shit that you have to go through before, you start, probably half the guys that I worked with back in the day, even Attitude Era, all that, never pass a goddamn physical. So there's a few things I have to get squared away medically.
In order to do that.
Yeah.
Is there an interest there?
Nah,
So, I know you work more tags now than singles, but
here's what I would be interested in, actually. I would go do some in-ring stuff for NXT.
love to see you down there.
Yeah. That's honestly, like, when I look at the main roster stuff and, NXT, I enjoy that product, and it's something like that would make me excited to be a part of. Truth is, I could do that level of a match. It's just I couldn't do it often.
Mm-hmm.
That it's just the recuperation as 46 years old, over 30 years of doing this now. It seems like maybe I'm just guessing because I haven't done that schedule in so long. Maybe I'm just guessing. The thought of it makes me vomit.
From Brian Tan Author, what was your biggest challenge breaking into the business as an undersized babyface?
Getting on shows. Mm-hmm. Yeah, getting the opportunity, getting someone to even take a look because of the way I looked. Because like when I first went to Minnesota and I walked out to the ring, I got fucking laughed almost out of the building because they're used to guys that look like the Road Warriors in Minnesota, and even the small guys were jacked. And so it took a couple of minutes into the match before people were like, oh my God, what the fuck's going on? Yeah. Some people like used me begrudgingly. Like for instance,
just throwing you a bone.
Yeah. Well, no, because I'm going to use an example.
Okay.
May he rest in peace. But the founder of the Monster Factory, Pretty Boy Larry Sharp, he was in, he ran shows in partnership with also passed away many years ago now, Dennis Carluzzo. And Dennis loved me, and Dennis would bring me in, and Larry didn't give a fuck. He didn't care. He wasn't impressed. He had different, Larry was the guy that, obviously he was like the Bam Bam Bigelow's, the big, his godfather went through his big old fucking guys.
Yeah.
Monster Factory. I wasn't a monster.
Very apropos.
Yeah. There was things like that.
Yeah, you were falsely advertised for the Monster Factory.
No, I wasn't falsely, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember one time, Larry told me I'm getting paid less, like $100 less, and
really?
Yeah, so Dennis just charged $100 more for the insurance that night because Dennis was the insurance provider because he was an insurance salesman. And I still got my proper. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. We have a question from dham0624 who asks, what's the most fun you have ever had working a match? Like full adrenaline fun that you've had?
I want to say a match that, people have seen because it was a pay-per-view match or something, but
I'd say you can give a televised match and a non-televised match if you wanted to. I don't think there's any problem with that.
It's kind of a toss-up maybe between Razor Ramon and 1-2-3 Kid versus Shawn Michaels and Diesel. It was from the Action Zone television show that was on Sunday mornings or Sunday afternoon. It's one of the best tag matches you might ever see. Yeah. Of the era, for sure. Obviously things have evolved, but for that era, it doesn't really get any better than that. As far as the match goes, it was so, like usually you have a template and it's smart to do that, like in the match, we just did it a little different than people would have predicted because usually like in a team with Razor and I, and we're the baby faces, I take the heat. I tag Scott. Scott comes in and blows the comeback. And it's just how it is. I'm the smaller guy.
Yeah.
But I blow a pretty good comeback too. I make a pretty good fucking hot tag too. So, we kind of did that, but then I took a bit of the heat and then Scott came in and took the big heat, which was like so different.
So you just threw off the regular sort of tempo of the match.
And eventually Scott tagged me.
And you got the hot tag.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
And I blew a helmet. Yeah, it was a good, I highly recommend it. It was really good. The house show match I'm thinking of, that was so much fun. It was just, it's not necessarily that this is the most fun I've ever had, but this one comes to mind. It was when Scott and Kev came back to WWE and we did the NWO 2002 version that everyone, didn't think was very good, but like legit, like we did really good business with that and had some good stuff.
I personally really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Thought it was
it wasn't the same as the NWO. Like we didn't run roughshod, run through everyone like that. But at the Meadowlands in Newark, and at the time it was the biggest house they'd ever done. It was a $550,000 house back in 2002. And it was Scott, Kevin, and I versus Triple H and Hulk Hogan. And Hulk didn't get there until right before we went out. So we had to put the match together
on the way
and do his stuff and tell him like his stuff. And he was like, he thought we were ribbing him because it was like shit that seemed like comedy spots, but it was, and we were just like, trust us, and it was off the fucking chain. It was so great.
Thank you very much for that question. Let's, I think we got time for one more here. Dan Lutzka, D. Lutzka on Twitter wants to know, so in 98, when you leave WCW for WWF, how much of the promo after WrestleMania was a shoot, and did you have any regrets from that promo?
The only regrets I have was just that I was so nervous. Like there were a few things about it that were pretty rough. But so no, there are no regrets. It was great. It was real. It was coming from a real place. It was a little rough around the edges on a couple of things. I don't like to, I'm not ready to critique my shit, but I don't want to ruin it for people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Understand that.
As far as like everything that I said, it was all fucking real. Yeah. All of it.
It's all legit.
Yeah.
Naturally. Well, thank you everybody for asking all these questions. Maybe sometime in the future we'll do it again.
Yeah, we'll see how people like this.
I think we have one more thing to share with the folks.
This episode of X-Pac 12360 is brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. NHTSA is working hard to change habits and save lives during the holiday season. Everyone knows about the risks of drunk driving. You could get in a crash. People could get hurt or killed. But let's take a moment to look at some surprising statistics, Marcus.
Let's do it.
Almost 29 people in the United States die every day in alcohol-impaired vehicle crashes. That's one person every 50 minutes. Even though drunk driving fatalities have fallen by a third in the last 3 decades, drunk driving crashes still claim more than 10,000 lives each year. Many people are unaware that driving while high can be just as dangerous. In 2015, 42% of drivers killed in crashes tested positive for drugs. Not so harmless after all, is it? And get this. From 2007 to 2015, marijuana use among drivers killed in crashes doubled. The truth is, driving while high is deadly. So stop kidding yourself. If you're impaired from alcohol or drugs, don't get behind the wheel. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Drive sober or get pulled over.
I think that's it for X-Pac 12364 for 2018. Thanks to everybody who joined us this year and who came along for the ride.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. I forgot that we're not going to be back until next year, right? Mm-hmm. So I just want to really thank everyone. And I want to send some love out to everyone that went through some shit this year. Because a lot of people went through a lot of shit. And I just want to say, I just want to recognize that. That's all.
You made it.
Not me, like you, all the people out there.
Everybody listening, all of the listeners. You made it.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
But, so we made it, everyone. And I'm really wishing everyone a very happy and prosperous New Year as well. Love everyone. See you guys next year.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Sean Waltman, producers Mark Donica, Jimbo Frank, and the entire X-Pac 12360 staff. We would like to thank you for tuning in. Like us on Facebook, rate and comment on iTunes and YouTube. Follow X-Pac on Twitter @TheRealXpac and email us at xpac12360show@gmail.com.